Hello friends, it's me, Rob, here in my office. And I thought that as kind of and I'm sorry for not having posted often enough lately, I'd share something with you. It's a game that I've kind of become excited about over time, and currently it's one of my my favorite games to relax to. I've long been a fan of Civilization-style games, the Sid Meier's product, where you are the force that guides a civilization through time, starting from very early Stone Age, moving on up to modern or sometimes future technology. Well, I also love fantasy games. So something that blends the two together is a natural thing that I would pay attention to. And a while ago, a friend of mine, who goes on Steam handle of Vindicare, was nice enough to give me a copy of a game that he got in a bundle that he didn't need called Warlock, Master of the Arcane. Now, at first I never heard of the game, honestly, and to this day I don't think it's gotten a great deal of press, but it's one of those hidden gems. It's a game that does a lot of things well. It lets you play as a powerful wizard who commands his own nation, basically, and you attempt to spread your domain, building cities and expanding your territory. But also, it's more militarily themed than Civilization was sometimes able to do. Your units are constantly fighting against monsters and other mages. There is an impetus to not just have hordes and hordes of monsters and keep upping them as your technology goes, but to really concentrate and advance your units so that they get stronger and more abilities. Eventually, you get more really powerful units, heroes, who are able to stand up to the toughest opponents, and you unlock things along the way to level them up. So I thought I would show you the introductory to Warlock. The first few levels, first few turns. I'm not going to go into deep detail with all the stuff that's available later, unless you want me to. This is very much if you talk to me through comments, what have you, and say, yes, I'd like to see more of this Warlock game. You let me know, and I'll do it. If not, then I've enjoyed playing a little bit, and hopefully some of you find some entertainment from this. So, oh, and got a new hat, too. Since I've become somewhat friendly with Rocket Pig Games, a company that makes 3D generated terrain and fantasy miniatures, I've kind of fallen for the flying pig theme, so that's what we're wearing for today. Alright, so without further ado, I'm going to open up and introduce you to Warlock, Master of the Arcane. Alright, here we have Warlock, Master of the Arcane, and real quickly I'm going to get it out of windowed mode. Just makes it easier on me. So we're going to do a new game, and like I said, I'm going to show you the introductory, the very basics on what setting up the game is like and how it plays. First of all, you get all the usual sliders that you would expect in these kind of civilization building games. Your difficulty, which can go all the way up to impossible, challenging, normal, casual, and relaxed. We're going to go with casual because we want some monsters to fight and things, but I don't want to spend a lot of time, fighting for my life to show you just this basic. There's two ways of play. There's Armageddon, wherein horrible, nightmarish monsters from the Outer Realms are trying to conquer the Outer Realms so that they can come in and take your world of Ardania. the ultimate victory for that is defeating them. So it's a challenging task. Otherwise, your other option is set up by you. What is your victory type? You're one mage among several, so your victory can be conquest. Defeat all the other great mages. Certainly that's got precedence in plenty of these kind of games. Defeating an avatar, super powerful creature from the Outer Realms. You really need to have your stuff together, have high-end units with lots of enhancements in order to have a chance to do that. The avatars are extremely powerful. Casting the Unity spell, which is the most powerful spell in the game. It takes multiple turns to cast, but once it's done, everybody in the whole world falls under your banner and you ultimately win. Of course, your enemies can do the same, so something to watch for. And also capture 50% of the Holy Grounds. Holy Grounds are tiles in the world that have a special glowing descriptor. You can, if you have a city within range of control of the Holy Grounds, you can plant temples on there, which improve your response to the gods. And yes, there are gods to worry about, both to make friends with and enemies with. And that can make your game more challenging, but it also crafts how you play, your personal style. So you could choose any of those as victory conditions. We're going to turn off the Holy Ground. We're going to turn off everything except the Unity spell, quite honestly. And that's basically, this is starting out as a very long-term game that I can play at my own pace. World configuration, you have great lands, no oceans. It's just one big block of land with some possible lakes in between. This isn't a game that has rivers and such, but it does have occasional bodies of water as internal lakes. A supercontinent, one big landmass in the middle with oceans around. It's going to minimize the necessity of having any kind of naval units. Continents, where there are large chunks of land separated by oceans, which naval forces will be, fairly important for, at least in the middle game, until you can start casting some spells that bypass water. And islands, where your navies are going to be extremely important, but your land resources are going to be tricky. Each small chunk of land may be one city and all the resources on it. So, map type, cylindrical or flat. Cylindrical means that you can go off one side of the map and you'll show up on the other side, more like a realistic world. But the top and bottom are still impenetrable. And how many mages? Depending on the size of the world you're playing on, if you're playing in huge, you can have up to 8 you can have lots of rival mages, up to 5, and up to 6 additional worlds. There are worlds, they're stacked like pancakes, and they can be accessed between the worlds by these portals that you can find. The outer worlds have some resources that you just can't find in your home world, and also more powerful monsters than you can usually find in your home world. So it's interesting to go to the outer worlds, exploit them, especially if you can edge out the rival mages and have entire worlds that you can conquer for yourself. In this case, we're going to go with continents. We're going to go with a normal-sized world, nothing too exceptional. Still big enough for a couple of continents and plenty of fighting. We're only going to go with 2 rival mages, just because I don't, in the early stages of the game, I'm going to be more worried about monsters and things than I am about the mages. And additional worlds, we'll just go with 2 for now. I usually like having lots, but we'll just have 2. This is just to show you what the game is like. Then you get to pick your mage. Now the mage is going to be your single thing that's going to largely dictate the way you play. Your race, if you're playing with humans, you're going to have units that are paid for with money, so gold acquisition is going to be fairly important for you. Generally, the units are individually fairly tough and can get upgraded quite quickly. There are also beasts, goblins, and were-rats, and things like that. They have some rather nasty units and some inherent advantages, but they don't get the advantages of higher technology as quickly. You have the undead, who have several advantages, not requiring much for food, so you don't have to worry about farming and anything like that. And they also are excellent at getting magic. However, individual units tend to be less tough. Your most powerful units, for example, are often going to be halberdiers, dwarven warriors, things that you find as resources that your cities can claim, more so than your rank and file units are ever going to be. And Then finally you have one mage who is of the elves. The race are called the Idir, I think, and they're your classic elves. They favor bows and such, but you only have one particular mage that does elf stuff. Now, the individual mages that you choose from have their own talents and traits, too. That changes the way that you will probably play them. For example, Moralbus the Hat is your Gandalf stand-in. He's an archmage. His spells come quickly, so expect to use a great deal of magic. And he starts out with a bonus 100 mana to start with, so you can start out casting some decent spells. That also dictates the spells that you start with. He can summon imps, so right away he can magically create some magical troops to help out his forces. And he can cast Lesser Fireball, so directly attacking opposing units. All in all, he's pretty much your classic wizard and a pretty tough one character to start with. It ranges between healing, characters who have a variety of abilities like summoning, but you also have some that are more researcher and more independent. Some of them are also a wink and a nod at other branded IPs, like Elspethster the Eternal is a lot like Elminster, who seems to be eternal. But all of them have their own different flair and flavor. Most of the mages are based on humans. There are a few that deal with the undead, like King Lich the Fifth, or the Empress. You also have several that deal with the beasts. King Rat, Sol de Torvega, Ashar the Wisest. Tendril, son of Vendril, is an honest-to-goodness dragon, quite scary. Malanel Zilchi, Lizard Man. There's some interesting characters to choose from. Again, it's going to flavor the way you play a little bit, at least in the early part of the game. For this, we're just gonna go with let's do somebody I've never done before. I have never ever played King Lich the Fifth. So let's go with mages. He is an archmage. He casts spells quick. He produces magic quick. He has a death spell attack, and he can weaken opponents. So, yeah, it should be fun. So we'll go next. The creature that you see on the screen is a kraken. This is one of the things that keeps you out of the water, especially in the early game when you don't have the more powerful ships. It is a nasty combatant. Alright, so the game has started up, and like many of these games, it's procedurally generated. I don't know what the land is going to look like. All I know is what's in my city, here, what within the range of vision of my city I can see, and then the rest is concealed by the fog of war, to be explored by my units. Now, as you can see, I'm on this little peninsula here, so all the surrounding area I can only get to by way of getting naval units to explore that. My home city of Vampirium, they're not very subtle, has my capital, and the capital, unlike several of these games, your cities can defend themselves. They will shoot at any opposing enemies or monsters that are nearby. Vampirium, my home city, can defend itself with a powerful attack. So I don't need to worry about keeping my forces close at hand. Another thing that's not important is in games like Civilization is if you have water, any of your units can jump into the water by making transports. And it's slower, they're vulnerable if they're more powerful units. They're much less powerful when they're in transports, but sometimes it's the best way to move units from one place to the next. As in most of these games, it's important to do exploration right away and know your surroundings. I know I've got a source of iron here, and iron can be used to craft better armor for your units to make them tougher. I have skeletal archers on a mana trap, which gives me more mana, and skeleton warriors that are in my capital defending it. I have a market to produce money for me. I have a graveyard to help me produce more undead units. And the terrain around me, barren plains, sandy desert. This would be pretty bad if I was starting out and I needed to feed my troops, but I don't, so we're good. Looking around at the different things, I only have a couple of spells that I can cast. Oops, wrong one. Lesser Shadow Bolt and Lesser Weakness, so nothing I can do magically right now, and I have no magic to cast anything anyhow. That will accrue as we go up. Up in the top, we can see our resources. I am gathering 7.5 gold every turn, and I have a cache of 100 at the moment. 5 food every turn because of my home city, and I'm gaining 5.1 mana per turn, which is what I use to cast my spells. The book is your research points, and that's how quickly you learn new spells. Along the right side, it shows you all the actions that you have available. It's a nice little reminder every turn. The book at the bottom tells me I can research a spell, which I need to do so that I can get, more magics. My spells are selected by kind of type. So I have Lesser Fireball, so 2 elemental attack spells. Lesser Heal, not very useful for me because that doesn't work on the undead. Harvest Blessing, which will increase food production. Again, I don't need that. And Greater Lands Raising, which can actually raise the landscape up. Flat plains become hilly. Hills become mountains. Interesting, but it will take a while to research it. It takes 12 turns to do that at my current level of research. 10 turns to get the Fireball. Only 3 to get the Lesser Fireball. 3 to get the Lesser Heal. And 10 to get the Harvest Blessing. We'll go with the Lesser Fireball. Alright. We also, because we're starting out the game, we get to construct a building. Now, I only have these 4 areas that I have to build from because of the population of my capital city. I can't build on water, so I only have this square to build from. These are the options that I have to choose from. A bat fort will allow me to train new flying units, like these green bats and ultimately black shadows when I get more experience. Having flying units can be really, really handy in the early game. It'll help you to explore your territory. It'll also help you to defend against ground units that can't attack flying units easily. I can make a smithy, which would enhance my units, allowing me to make fine armor for them. Ultimately, that would be something that would be nice to get, but at the moment, I don't quite need that. I can make a harbor, which would allow me to make a unit called a Caravellis, which is your basically sunken ship that's been brought out for undead duty. That would also increase my cash flow by 50%. I can make a craftsman's district that would give me just raw cash every turn, but right now I need too many things. At the moment, I'm going to make a bat fort. The other advantage of a bat fort is that it can serve to defend. It can actually shoot at nearby units. So by creating this bat fort, I'll have stronger defense in my capital city, and the ability to create new units, and I'll also get more cash. The only downside is that it has an upkeep of food, and food is going to be a little scarce at the beginning, but we'll work towards it. And ultimately, yes, I can make farms, but the terrain around isn't very good for farming. So that is what I've chosen, so we can close the view. I can make skeleton warriors and skeleton archers because of the graveyard that I have. And then I have 2 units that I can move around. Now what I can see here is I've got the rest of this landmass to explore. I also have a shipwreck over here, which is just cash in hand. I'm going to take my archers, and they can't actually go into the water. Apparently undead units are afraid of water, so that's fine. I'll have them explore over there. Other units, the humans and the monsters can both make transports, so that's a disadvantage I did not anticipate with the undead. I haven't played undead much, so I'm a little bit foggy on that. And the terrain continues to look ugly. Now, one of the things you can get later on down the road is the ability to transport units by teleportation, which can bypass some of the worst of terrain. You also can transform the terrain type. I can't make I can actually lower mountains into hills if I want to get rid of that particular barrier, but what I can also do is I can turn all of these deserts into land that's more suitable. If I find myself needing food, I can create fertile ground and cropland, which can be incredibly useful for stacking up your resources. If I just care about mana acquisition and cash, because cash is what you use to upgrade your units, and there's just a variety of useful things with it, I can turn the lands into lands of order, which is basically Arctic lands, and that actually helps you to make make your cash. Currently, I have an affectionate cat, so if she's being distracting, that's why. So, initial turns rarely are going to be anything too drastic. Things start out very slowly. And I have a quest. Yay! It's build a farm. Now, I just gave orders to build that bat fort. Until my population increases, I'm not going to be able to make this farm, nor do I really care about a farm. Quests generally are little nudges that get you along the way towards expanding your nation. I have 20 turns to make a farm, and the reward for that would be 110 gold. It's not a significant thing, but if I fail at it, there's no penalty, so I might as well accept it. And besides which, if I make a large unit of bats, for example, to go out and explore, I'll need that food, so that may not be a bad thing. And then I'll end my turn, which will let my units carry forward with the last orders that they had, because I gave both of them orders to move beyond what they were capable of that turn. So now it tells me that they have no tasks, and I can send them on where I want them to go next. And here's a lost caravan, and I see that there's some more fertile terrain out there, so that's a good thing. I'll end my turn here too. And what do we have? New units, yay! We can make skeleton settlers. Basically, your terrain expands when your population expands, the zone of control of your city. In this case, it means that I have 5 new land terrain units that I can build on, which is good. So I can build that farm the next time I have the opportunity. Secondly, it also means that while my bat fort is being built, I can see more around me, which is good. And that as I get further and further in control, spells that I cast in my territory are cheaper, oftentimes. So it's easier to defend yourself than to attack long distance. So yay, I can make skeletal settlers. That allows me to put down new units. As is pretty typical of these kind of games, that's a big advantage, having more cities. So, since I see that we're clear out here, I'm going to instruct for some skeletal settlers to be built. Now, we can right-click on units, like our skeleton warriors here, and we can find what goes into these particular units. Their attack is base 8, which is not very strong. They don't have a great deal of movement, just 3 units of movement. Sight range of 2, and it costs upkeep. For as long as I have these skeletal warriors, I have to spend a gold and a point of magic every turn. It's a good thing that I've got a lot of magic coming. Because of who my wizard is, I generate more magic naturally. They have resistance to missile fire, but they're vulnerable to life magic. Appropriate for undead. But I can do that for any unit, which comes in very handy when you start seeing new units and you're not sure how to approach them. It also helps you play a little bit of a paper, rock, scissors game, plotting the correct attacks that'll take advantage of an opponent's weaknesses. Again, we're going to have the archers move down. Units traveling through your own territory that you control have a bonus to their movement. It's not a huge bonus, but it...
One of your rivals, my lord.
Oh my, I found one of the rivals already. Well, that'll be interesting. I don't see where. My research is complete. I have my Lesser Fireball spell. Yay. I can now research a new spell. Instead of Lesser Fireball, Frost Weapon Enchantment. That allows my weapon to inflict additional elemental magic. It's a bonus which basically sticks with the unit and costs me mana to upkeep it. Lesser Heal, again, still useless to me. I'm looking for a spell called Reconstruction that works on undead. We can construct a building. We're going to construct a harbor because we will want a naval unit. That'll be very useful. Down the road, one of the interesting things about the undead is they get a flying ship. An air galleass, I believe it's called. And it's can be fairly effective. Green bats use up 2 food each. So we're going to make a green bat so we can explore. And also to help us defend against ground units. They are weak. They're basically just scouts. Oh, that's an ogre. That is very bad for me to have run across. These archers are going to be in a world of hurt if that ogre decides he wants to come over and beat them, because one hit and they're gone. We've found Elspirit Stir the Eternal. Not an opponent I wanted to face, but he's not a particularly hostile one. He just wants to sit and research and ultimately get the magic that'll crush you. Yay, we can do green bats, which we have a unit dialed up. We have our bat fort there, and the construction is complete on that. So we can end our turn and send our units out. But yeah, here comes the ogre, and he's going to splatter my poor little skeleton archers. He didn't kill them all. I'm shocked. Quite honestly, yeah, very shocked. The ogre dishes out normally 20 points of damage. He's somewhat resistant to melee and missile attacks, very resistant to life magic, a little bit of resistance to elemental magic. He's hard to hurt, and he's got 50 hit points. He's an advanced fighter. The little bits of lore are cute too. These monsters are famous for their size, strength, drowsiness, and for their unfortunate habit of dragging fair maidens around by their hair, which is cute. They have bonuses of attacking cities and forts, ogre armor, which gives them even more resistance, and which is all reflected there. And Highlander, they get defensive bonuses in hills and attacking targets on hills. Yeah, ultimately, in early games, they are devastating. They just about killed my skeleton archers. My archers only had 15 hit points. I'm not sure how they survived. They have a bonus to missile fire and a bonus against life magic. I'm not going to complain. The fact that they survived is kind of heartening. Okay, so we have skeleton settlers now. Now we have to find them a place where they can go. We're going to try to get my spearmen to explore a little bit. And we're going to get my skeleton archers back to the home city if we can. The ogres are slow, so I might be able to get away and get my archers healed up. All of your units have the opportunity to rest. Again, I can't cross over that impassable terrain, so I'm just going to get my skeletons out of the way. Hope that I can slip by this ogre and put down a new city. Possibly right here in the middle of the hills. As we expand our terrain, I'll eventually be able to pick up that iron, which will be nice. But we can end our turn, and now they'll attack the skeleton spearmen we've got. He took some damage, and our spearmen are actually able to resist quite a bit of their attack, which is good. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of switch and baiting. Ultimately, we could defeat the ogre with a sizable enough defense, but as of right now, I just want to hold fast. I want to move my archers here into the capital city to heal. I want to move my skeleton warriors out of the way. Yeah, here's a nice open coastline. If I can get my archers or my skeleton settlers over there, that would be good. And we have... Alright, we have our bats, but the bats found out there's a kraken there. That'll bottle up my naval units for a while. Krakens are tough opponents. I have lesser heal now, which got lesser heal out of the way and gave me, Shadow Bolt. I can start blasting things. Unfortunately, it costs, how much? 55 mana to cast, and I'm only generating 3.1 per turn. Sometimes being the Lord of the Undead can suck a bit. We need to get some more cities down quickly. So, thinking about what I can do, having another spell that will attack my enemies is useful. And Death Magic fits my idiom, quite honestly. So, assessing orders. The one advantage of having my bats is that I don't have to worry about the Kraken, unless I make a mistake and stupidly attack it, because it can't attack me from a distance. It will utterly crush me if I try to attack it, however. Here's a neutral city, Rain Rat, which is almost certainly going to be a beast-based city. I'm going to go around their territory because they can shoot at my bats. They won't do a great deal of damage. Damage is based on the population. This one only has 1 so far. But I don't want to really risk my bats getting beat up. So we're just going to move them around a little bit. My skeletons we are going to rest, and they recovered 4 hit points per turn. Won't be long before they're back up to fighting order. The ogre stopped chasing after my skeleton warriors, so I can rest them as well. They get back 7 hit points. Enough units of skeletons could play bait and switch with that ogre and finish it off. But at the moment, it's just a little tricky. Now hopefully that ogre didn't move away, so he may come over and squash my settlers. It's hard to say. We can now make the Caravellas, and we will want to do that. Unfortunately, that's another unit that's going to soak away even more of my magic, so our magic production is going to get critical. That's what I was afraid of. That was a foolish thing, moving him up without knowing where the ogre was. But there are some advantages. He moved within range of my home city, casting spells to do some damage. And now I can move my bats along to pick up that shipwreck. And we can do a little bit of exploration. Maybe find some resources that will absolutely help us out. We found some monster-eating spiders at a spider hole. Lost Caravan will be able to scoop up and get the loot from. This is a set of Minotaur caves. Minotaurs are interesting creatures. They're very powerful, but you have 2 uses of that resource. You can either turn it into a Minotaur palace where you can start recruiting Minotaurs, and yeah, they're fairly powerful. So I need to build a city up here to do that. Or I can, alternatively, create Minotaur mazes, which would allow me to buy a buff that would strengthen my units. So, assigning my units orders. I now have this Caravellas, and I do not want to risk the wrath of that Kraken at this point. He would destroy my ship fairly easily. The Caravellas is, again, an undead-themed ship. It has a ranged attack, cannons, basically, and can move 4 spaces over water. And it has an upkeep cost. I am actually in magic debt right now. So if I don't increase my magic soonish, I am going to get into some serious trouble and start losing units that rely on magic. Fortunately, though, bettering myself is all part of the strategy. So we're going to push back the boundaries, discover more of what we're looking at. Using the scroll wheel allows us to change the plane a little bit. We can get the top-down view or the isometric view. And I would like to keep exploring with this unit and kind of cheat around this ogre, play tag with it a little bit. Ultimately, I'd like to keep him away from his den, because then I can get over there and loot the den. Number one, it's a creature spawner. It'll create more ogres over time. Secondly, if he gets damaged, he can go back up there and heal on it. We don't want that. So I put my skeletons up there as kind of a sacrifice to draw his attention if need be. And I'm going to try to knife my skeleton archers up there quickly enough to hopefully be able to destroy that. Now, we have wild serpents. They are flying creatures, so they can go after my bats, and they have ranged attacks. They can hit just about everything with impunity. Those are a good priority to kill. Fortunately, I have guns on my Caravellas, so I can blow them up. And that drastically weakened them. Weakened units don't do as much damage, so my bats have a chance of slipping away relatively unscathed. And that's a sea serpent. They're nasty opponents. because they are fairly tough. They, I believe, can take about 50 points of damage, but they have a ranged attack, so no matter if you can fly or what, they are going to be a threat. So we're going to end our turn and see what this ogre does. Okay, we're going to have... This is an Infernal Rift, which can be used to build a particular structure that helps with research. Okay, now we're going to see some combat. They're flinging fireballs at my Caravellis, doing minor damage because they're damaged themselves. And my Caravellis can take that, and then we'll fire at them again next turn. Alright, so we can make an air dockyard, so we can make the Flying Galleass, which would be nice. However, my mana concerns are pretty significant at this point. I need more mana, plain and simple. So I have to create a mana farm. Oh wait, I have that quest to create a farm, don't I? Alright, we'll do that so I can create some more bats. It's not a significant thing, but that extra 100 gold could come in very handy down the road. So, let's make sure no other ogre has appeared over here. Nope. Next round, if he does... what are these? Monster-eating spiders. Yuck. And they're guarding some silver. And there's some silver here as well. Silver is useful. Both, it's got two uses again. One of them is to create a silver brewery, which helps you to enhance your units. It's an inexpensive modifier, boosts your units. The other one is just to get raw cash, turning it into a silver mine. When your units attack, that ends their turn. So, which units have no actions. We actually wouldn't mind getting some experience for our skeleton warrior. Oh my gosh. Predatory spiders. Rogues, the free rogues guild. There's a spider nest there. There are rogues over here. Monster-eating spiders over here. We kind of stepped in it a little bit. This could be the last round for our skeleton warriors, depending on if everybody attacks or not. Useful thing about fighting spiders, their poison doesn't work very well on undead. So my units will defend themselves and dish out some damage, but they'll be immune to the damage multiplier that the spiders have of poison. That can be really useful in the early game. So, okay, my Caravellis took a little damage, so I'm going to heal it. It's minor, but again, remember, if I'm damaged, I don't do as much damage myself. Okay, we'll get rid of the ogres then. That'll stop more ogres from spawning. That in the early game is a good thing. We're also going to come over here, and since the spider unit is weakened, we're going to attack it. We dealt out a critical hit. We took some damage, but we were able to help out the skeleton warriors that we have. We're guarding their flank a bit. Unfortunately, we pushed them back into the spider nest. That's not what we had intended to do. And this unit has no tasks. Well, unfortunately, this ogre has healed. He spent some time and healed his injury. So our spiders are being aggressive and attacking our skeleton units. And these rogues are also going to attack. Again, the rogues use poison, which impacts skeletons not at all. We leveled up, which is good. We're going to get resistance to their attacks. And our unit was stunned at first, which is harsh early on in the game. Okay, our skeleton archers are going to shoot at the big galoot. Not doing a great deal of damage, but hopefully drawing him away. And we are going to get our Caravellis over here to help shoot at the ogre if he's dumb enough to come up by the coastline. This is just multiplying the advantages of all of the different units that we have. Getting them all to attack a single unit is a lot stronger than individual ones attacking separately, clearly. Okay, we're going to move up and capture the shipwreck. And because there's no ranged units, our bats don't have to worry about healing right away. We need to polish off these spiders, though. Our bats could kill them and also move up and capture the spider nest. That gets us some coin, some wealth, but also some magic, which we are desperately in need of. So, even though our skeleton warriors are in deep, deep trouble, it seems like they still can't move. We built a farm, we got cash. The dens of dangerous beasts are now everywhere. It's necessary to clear the land of this menace. Well, I didn't see anything. So as of right now, most of my units are okay, but I'm probably going to lose these skeletons. I don't see any way around it. While I have some spell power, however, I can throw down some magic. These spiders are nasty. They have no resistances to magics, however. These rogues also have no resistances to magic. So if I can deal out as much damage as possible with a single spell, which will be 8 death magic, yeah, well, it won't save my my skeleton warriors, I'm afraid. They're going to go down. But at least I can possibly polish off those rogues with another spell next round. So, another interesting thing with spells that you cast, not only do they have the cost of them, and if you hover over you can see their stats, but also they have a time that it takes to cast the spell. And because my character is an archmage, he's really fast at casting spells. His lesser heal is really quick, taking up only about a third of his turn. He could cast multiple ones in a given turn if he had to. Lesser fireball, he can cast probably 2 of those in a single round. The other spells are less than a full turn, so I could actually cast over the course of, say, 4 turns, possibly 5 of those spells. So that is an advantage to the character that I am playing. But we have to end the turn. Our skeletons are going to get swatted again. Not much I can do. Oh my! They got pushed into the water. Okay, and there go my... Oh, my skeletons got pushed away. They survived. I don't know how. They aren't going to survive that, though. Yeah, that's it for them. And because this is a spawner, it spawned out some more rogues. These are shootier type rogues. That was unfortunate. Another quest, huh? Build another farm. I'll say okay to it, but I'm not going to do it. I have too many other needs. Alright, my skeletons got pushed away. They need to come back here and recuperate, so... Oh, I forgot about that. This is going to be quick. My skeleton archers are about to get eaten by that sea serpent, but I'll have my Caravellis attack the ogre and try to inflict some damage. Yay, I leveled up. I can increase my sight range. I can increase the thickness of the hull, giving more durability, or I can make it do more damage, 30% more. I don't do a great deal of damage, and right now we're dying for some scouts. But I'm going to take accurate shot anyhow, because I like doing damage. He's going to walk away. I'm going to continue to pester him. My skeletons are going to die. Yeah, that was just going to happen. So I'm now dealing with far fewer units. And remember, this is a casual game. It's just been kind of going against me with what's been in the surrounding area. I am going to continue trying to get out units that will last hopefully a little bit longer and allow me to, if not exactly, dominate the enemies that are in the area, at least keep up the pressure and get this section of the peninsula conquered at some point. By continuing to attack this ogre, for instance, it has no home to fall back to, so perhaps I can kill it with my Caravellis if it doesn't move inland. I've lost my opportunities to do much more than that, but now, since I've lost those units, I'm getting stuff back. For example, I now have all this food back, so I can summon a couple units of bats to go and keep exploring. I can keep shooting this ogre, which seems to have lost all will to live since his lair is gone. And that'll be that for the turn. Now hopefully I can get...
Spell research is complete.
I can see that the rogues over here have replenished their numbers. They've rested as well. The hostile units can do that. And my research, I now have my Shadow Bolt, which does more damage. Again, because all the skeletons are dead, I am now gaining magic again, which is good. The thing that is sucking up my magic is the Caravellis right now and the Skeleton Settlers. Researching a new spell lets me look at Lightning Bolt, doing elemental damage. Half as much as the Fireball. Now I really have to think about what's useful. I really need to put up some new cities, which is what we're going to be working on next. Hopefully there's no monsters down here. We can hope. The ogre can't attack. He's melee only. So I will keep pinging him until he dies. I have a demand from El Spiritster. He's demanding that I give him gold and the spell Lesser Weakness, which I'm not going to do. Technically it declares war, but I don't know what he has to defend himself with. I'm not particularly concerned at this stage. Truth be told, I don't even know where his territory is yet. I supposedly have made contact with him, but I have not seen the area that he claims. So we're going to move slowly to try to avoid sea serpents with my bats. And a lot of the game is based around being cautious and smart. And we're going to keep that ogre pin down. Alright, now we can build something new. We need to build mana farms, but I also need some air pressure. That flying dockyard would be nice. It's going to seriously put a crimp in my cash. It requires 5 gold upkeep and 2 magic upkeep. That's the cost of doing business in this game. You know, keep monitoring your upkeeps. It's a huge part of, you know, how you win. I also need some archers, so we'll put up some skeleton archers. If nothing else for defense. But now we can build a city. Dreadspell.
We have founded a new city.
And I'm thinking about moving my bats over there to help defend it. But the need for exploration is just too much right now. Remember, cities can defend themselves to a certain extent. So, there's vampires out here. They have a nasty ranged attack that strengthens them and hurts you. And we have...
My lord, another world portal has been found.
There's your first world portal, which we are not ready for. It's neatly bottling us up because we're not anywhere near being able to fight earth elementals. So that means that we are cooped up neatly in this little peninsula, even if we claim the rest of this. Okay. The good news is my flying Caravellis can't be hurt by them. So I can actually fight them with impunity. Eventually I'll win. Oh, fun.
Someone has humbly requested your aid.
Monster-eating spiders. Kill them, get 70 in cash. It's a gamble. If I can't kill them in 20 turns, I will lose 10 gold. It's not much of a gamble. They're not powerful monsters. So we're just about at the end of what we're going to do for this run. We've set up a separate city. We have lost some units. We have conquered some units. But as of right now, I'm kind of at an impasse with what I can do. I'm going to use my bats. Oh shoot, that's right. They have shooty units over there. I'm going to use my bats for recon purposes. And I don't have enough mana to cast Shadow Bolt, but I can cast 8 points, 5 points. 8 points it is. Who should we kill first? Let's kill the ogre. That's it for him. Okay, he was the biggest threat in the area. Now my Caravellis can attack these spiders. Oh, one shot killed them all. Almost all of them. And we can level up. Remember those bonuses we had before? They've changed a bit. As a matter of fact, all of them have changed. Oak paneling, giving more resistance to melee and missile fire. This is the big one, perceptive. You get experience every turn. The earlier you get it, the more benefit you get. It's a huge advantage. The fiery core, bonus to damage, don't care. I'll get that benefit and more with all the experience I'm going to rake in from being perceptive. So now I can end my turn. I can hope this doesn't come around to attack me. My bats, again, not very good for attackers. And again, they got crippled right there. So, yes, I'm definitely, it's not that I've learned my lesson. I know my place, and it's not to go toe-to-toe with those things. I want to finish off these spiders, and I'm going to do that with a cheap spell, Lesser Fireball. Should be enough to finish them off. Critical hit, and they die, and that's cash for me. This game is also a game of positioning. Had I not moved my ship all the way over here to this little inlet, I could have shot these predator spiders one extra time. So, yeah, there's that. You can set your units as sentry, so they're doing overwatch. An enemy shows up, they reactivate, but until then I don't have to consider them for a while. I'll have my bats retreat to the mountains where they can't be attacked so that I can rest them. Until I'm ready to deal with those hunters. Probably when my flying galleass comes in. And now we can assign our units orders. We have skeleton archers. Moving them. This will be my last turn. I think I've shown you enough to show you what the opening gambit of these games are like. Rest my bats. I'm going to harass these spiders. I destroyed their nest already with the green bats before, so I don't have to worry about them replenishing or healing very much. So I now can make a flying galleass. Now, how much you want to make a bet that that's really expensive to have? It is. That is 5 magic, which I can't afford, and 2 gold, which I can afford, but barely. They attack at range. They do more damage than my Caravellis does. And being dead, they have a vulnerability to life magic. And Demolisher, they get a bonus to attacking cities and forts, but they fly. So that is a huge advantage when I can afford them, which I can't at the moment. I'm going to have to start putting up mana farms so that I can afford the troops that I need. So they're resting. They're on sentry. We're going to continue to attack the spiders. There's no point in attacking the rogues because they heal. And I don't have a unit that can get on land at this point that can go and finish those off. When I get my spiders out, I'll be able to attack without taking return fire. Oh, I just went through another turn. Oh. We are going to explore with my bats, which was pretty much always going to be their stated goal. Now I'm going to unfortunately show you what vampires can do to them. That was ill-conceived. I should not have done that. And they just died. Yeah. The green bats are very weak creatures. So, yeah. That was pretty much a waste. That's what happens when you're not careful with your positioning. I think I said that earlier. Alright, so this is Warlock, Master of the Arcane. Down the road, yes, this game has dragons and really powerful spells. If you're interested in seeing how this game plays out, let me know. On the comments below, direct comment on my OmnusI Facebook, however you like. But it's a fun game. I enjoy it. In the opening stages is really where your victory is laid out. Right now I've had some setbacks, but I've got a juicy area right here where I'd love to put a city, get the benefit of a couple of plains, so I can get some farms. But I've got 2 units of silver, these ancient ruins that I can excavate for faster research, and an infernal rift that I can do some sneaky demonology for more research. Eventually getting the higher level spells quickly. So I'm Rob here once more trying to entertain you, so I hope you've enjoyed this, and let me know again what you thought. I will see you next time. Thank you, and farewell.